Hey guys, welcome to Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews. I am your host Boise and this is Raw Review. So we got a jam-packed episode of Raw for you this week, guys, and you might have noticed my voice is a bit groggier than usual. I'm fighting off a cold, so I do apologise if my voice goes during the review, but with all that said and done, let's get on with Raw and let's enjoy it. Let's hit the music. So we started off the show with a tribute video to the late Dr. Martin Luther King. Always a great tribute video. If you don't know, Vince McMahon is a big admirer of the late Doctor, and he every year he does a great tribute video towards him, and this one was again a great video. But we started off the show with the Universal Champion Brock Lesnar and his advocate Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman does exactly what Paul Heyman always does great. He sells the match between Brock Lesnar and Finn Balor at the Royal Rumble this Sunday. And I was already hyped for this match, but listening to Paul Heyman talk about it just makes you really go, you know what? This is going to be a fantastic match. And that's what it felt like. It feels like a big deal type of match. One of my best lines, and Paul Heyman's best lines when he's ever promoting a match, is spoiler alert, and then he tells you exactly what's going to happen. It's like, Brock Lesnar's going to win. And it's like, oh, I just want to know if he's going to be wrong this time. Because he's been right quite a few times now. But it'd be great to see him one day just go, I was wrong. He was interrupted by none other than Mr. McMahon. Vincent Kennedy McMahon comes out and he tells Paul, you did a great job selling the match, but do you really think a small guy like him can beat that beast, Brock Lesnar? And Paul just goes, you know what? It could happen, maybe not, but he did beat the second best ever John Cena. And that's what they kind of brushed over. They talked about last week's Fatal 4-Way, but they kind of forgot one thing. Finn didn't just have one match, he took on two matches. He beat Jinder for his spot, and then he also beat the Fatal 4-Way to get the #1 contender spot. Both men were interrupted by Braun Strowman, who states that last week was the worst day of his life because of Baron Corbin costing him his #1 contendership match. His #1 contendership against Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. And then he was interrupted by none other than Finn Balor, who told Vince McMahon the real story between David versus Goliath, because Vince McMahon stated that Goliath destroyed David, and Finn comes out and goes, no, David came out and he was made out of sturdy stuff and he destroyed Goliath. And Vince McMahon goes, you know what? I want to see that. Why don't we see it? Braun Strowman versus Finn Balor, David versus Goliath, and Brock, you're going to stay out here and watch this match. I'm going to give this opening segment a 3 out of 10. Paul Heyman did a great job. Everyone's promos were really good in this one, and it's good. It's been a while since I've seen Brock Lesnar and Mr. McMahon in the ring together, so it was kind of like, ooh, two big power figures in the ring at the same time, and the crowd did enjoy that. So yeah, a 3 out of 10, and it leads on to the first match of the night. So like I stated, it was going to be Finn Balor versus Braun Strowman, David versus Goliath, with Brock Lesnar watching on, and this was a really good match because it just shows you exactly what Finn Balor can do in these type of matches. If he's seen as an underdog, he can play on that role, and everyone loves it. Braun Strowman was in control for the start of the match, which is natural. You can expect that from someone like Braun Strowman, big, strong, scary looking man. Being able to control a match is quite easy for him. But Finn started getting momentum back onto himself, and this all started because of Braun Strowman throwing Finn Balor into Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar catches him, suplexes him straight away. Referee allows it. Bit dodgy is that, but he could have called it off from there. Both Braun and Brock Lesnar facing off each other, and then Finn Balor takes out Brock Lesnar outside the ring. He does a really good job on there. All the momentum's now on Finn because he's just taking out Brock Lesnar, and then Braun Strowman tries to control the match again, but Finn is too fast for him, dodges everything. He uses the coup de grace. It looks like Finn's going to get it, but no. Brock Lesnar interrupts, F5s Finn Balor, and Finn wins by disqualification while Brock Lesnar's watching above him with Braun still on the floor. Now, now this is the thing. It's a 3 out of 5 match, so there you go, that's the score. But I would have given it a 4 if they had changed the ending. The whole match was perfect to the last bit for me. And I would have done this. I would have had Finn pin Braun Strowman, because you don't need to protect Braun Strowman. He's already super over. The fans like him, I like him, everyone likes him, so you don't need to do that. All you needed to do was get Finn to have a big victory like that again. He's just beaten Cena last week, having beat Braun Strowman this week, and he really feels like a massive superstar who deserves to be in that. But no, that dodgy finish kind of screws him out of that, which I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to protect Braun Strowman just in case future events need him to be the #1 guy again. But for me, it doesn't really damage Braun that much. Getting beaten by someone like Finn Balor, the crowd are already behind Finn, so let him have more momentum by beating Braun Strowman. So like I stated, guys, this is a 3 out of 5 star match. It could have been a 4 out of 5 star match, but obviously WWE are trying to protect Braun Strowman in this. So yes, great match, could have been fantastic, just a shame about the ending really. Next up we had the new Intercontinental Champion Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush coming out to celebrate Bobby Lashley's victory last week when he won the Intercontinental Championship. And he had let's be honest, he had a little podium in the ring so he could have the belt put onto him by Lio Rush. Then he was interrupted by Apollo Crews, and Apollo even said, "Look, I'm just out here to look for a match. I know it's not going to be for the IC title, you've already stated that, but why not? Why should I have an opportunity?" And Lio Rush and Bobby Lashley go, "You can have a match if you can beat us at a posing competition." Now, I know what you're thinking, "Oh, boys, you gotta lower the score because it's a bit stupid." Actually, some people hated the posing stuff. For me, I actually enjoyed it. I know it sounds really silly, but it actually allowed Apollo Crews to do something he hasn't had in some time. A character. And he had fun with it. Bobby Lashley's taking it all serious, and Apollo is not. And that's the thing. He was doing exactly the same as Bobby Lashley, but he was having fun with it, and the crowd was enjoying it. You could tell the crowd were actually having a laugh at this segment. Bobby Lashley didn't take well to this, and he attacked Apollo. This led to the match between both men, which was a short match at its own, and the match kind of cost what this segment was. If the segment was just Bobby Lashley and Apollo have, pose off, and then next week they have a match, that would have been fine. But no, we got straight into the match, and for me, it could have been a really good match. Apollo's a great athlete. He's got amazing skills in the ring, and Bobby Lashley as well is a great athlete. But it just felt short, and there was one bit in the match where it looked like Apollo had seriously hurt his back trying to lift up Bobby Lashley. Lio Rush got involved in the match yet again. It's seeming like that's what Lio Rush's job's going to be throughout the IC title run for Bobby Lashley. And what happens? Of course, spear. Bobby Lashley wins. It doesn't really do anything for both competitors. I hope we do get a proper feud between Bobby Lashley and Apollo Crews, and allows Apollo Crews to actually start developing a character, because it's been some time. But I actually enjoyed the start of this more than I actually enjoyed the actual match itself. So I'm going to give this a 2.5 star match. I think it was fine, but the best bit was the part at the beginning. The match itself was short, and it looked like it really did seriously hurt Apollo Crews in the making. Next up, we had Drew McIntyre versus Seth freaking Rollins. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hold on, we've seen this match 582 billion times already. Why are we seeing it again? And I thought that as well. But we actually started off with a really good promo between both men. Seth talking about how at the end of 2018 he was holding 2 belts, the tag team belts and the Intercontinental, and now he holds nothing. But there's one thing he's kept, which is always going to be more important than any title: the WWE Universe's respect. And I thought that was a good little touch. He talked about, he used a bit of Martin Luther King's speeches as well, which was good to see as well. And Drew McIntyre interrupts him, and they talk about how Seth's own wrestling techniques and style will cost him at the Royal Rumble. It's too dangerous, and he's too reliant on the big moves to get him the victories. And I thought that was great. This is two competitors who are two of the favourites to win the Royal Rumble, calling each other out pretty much, and then they have a fantastic match again. I know we've already seen this match, but it was really, really good. And to be honest, with Seth being the favourite to win the Royal Rumble for the last few months, it's just nice to actually have a match where Seth was the underdog throughout the whole match. Drew McIntyre dominated the whole match, which was different. We don't often see Seth be dominated throughout a match, and it looked like Drew McIntyre was going to get the victory before Seth Rollins pulls off a quick pinfall to get a surprise win. The crowd were happy and applauded the victory, but you can tell if Drew or Seth get the victory on Sunday at the Royal Rumble, the crowd will be as energetic as they were when they watched this match. Now, I know WWE have relied on this match a lot lately in the last end of the year and the start of this year, but hopefully we can move on from Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre for some time now, because even though it was a good match, I've seen it so many times. And yes, this was a different type of storytelling where Seth was more of an underdog and got injured a lot more in this match than he usually does, but that was it. That was the only difference in the match. So for me, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Still a solid match, but because we've seen it so much, it kind of knocks it off from being a 4 or 5 star match. Next up, we probably have the worst match I've seen so far this year. The Lucha House Party versus Jinder Mahal and the Singh brothers. Now, this was nothing in particularly special when it started, and I honestly thought this was the toilet break match for the fans who were in the arena, and it seemed like it was, because there was a lot of people moving to the, to go to the toilets in the background, and you could tell that because WWE focused mostly in the ring instead of panning out to show the audience. That's a hint there for anyone watching the show. And it just felt really, really poorly put together, and the reason is Singh got pinned, and it looked like he was supposed to kick out, and it was a shot 3 count, and it was like, oh, is that it? That's the end. That was a quick match, and Jinder Mahal isn't going into the tag team division, so why are the Lucha House Parties taking on teams who aren't technically in the tag team division in these type of matches? It felt like a showcase match, which they don't need to keep doing, because we've got new tag teams like Heavy Machinery, who will be on this episode of Raw, who do need these type of showcase matches. So this felt pointless, wasted, and it felt like a toilet break match. So I'm going to give this a 1.5 star match, mainly because it was funny to watch the Singh brothers fail on a big match like this for themselves. Next up, we had Baron Corbin versus Elias. Now, of course, we always start an Elias match with Elias about to sing a song, and this time round, he was about to sing a song about the Royal Rumble and how he's going to beat 29 other men to become the winner and take on whoever's the Universal Champion. But he was interrupted by none other than the former assistant commissioner, whatever he wants to be called, Baron Corbin. And the crowd just hate Baron Corbin. He's a great heel, but he's been pushed down the card so much. Both men are great entertainers, but their chemistry between each other just lacking, and this felt like it again. The promos between each other was lackluster. It just felt like, oh, I'm going to beat you again, Baron, and Baron's like, well, I've beaten you already, and it's like, oh, right, okay, yay. We're going to see this match, which we've only seen recently yet again, I think 2 weeks ago, so we're going to see it yet again this week, and yeah, it was exactly the same as what we got. Corbin got a cheap victory, and that was about it. I feel really, really sorry for Elias. Now, I know what they're doing. It's back-to-back victories for Baron Corbin, because at the Royal Rumble, Elias is finally going to get his revenge, where he tosses Baron Corbin out of the ring and gets his, one-up on him. But it just feels like there's no chemistry there, and that's a bit of a shame because both men are very entertaining, but it just feels like this is pushing Elias further and further down the mid-card, which is a shame because Elias is a great talent, and WWE should be pushing him into title shots against like people like Bobby Lashley. I think that's more of a direction Elias should be going, but it doesn't feel like it is going to go anywhere like that. I think it's going to be, he's going to be a mid-carder for a while until maybe finally when WWE realise they've actually got a jewel in their mid-cards, and it's a bit late and people have kind of gone off him, like the Rusev Day situation. That's when they're finally going to do something with Elias. But saying that, I'm going to give this a 2-star match, mainly because we've seen it already. Baron Corbin won again by cheating, and it's just pushing Elias down the mid-card even further. Next up, we had a moment of bliss with Alexa Bliss, and she had her guest, her former best friend slash rival slash best friend again, Nia Jax, and they were talking about the Royal Rumble which is coming up. Nia Jax comes out, she's talking for like a second, none other than Ember Moon interrupts them and says that she's going to win the Royal Rumble. Nia chucks the chair, they're about to stare at each more. Alicia Fox comes out, Mickie James, the Riot Squad, Nikki Cross comes out, and Alexa Bliss just goes mental and tells them they need to all calm down. They're embarrassing the women's division, they're embarrassing themselves, and they need to calm down and be prepared, you know, leave all that energy till Sunday. Nia doesn't take any of it. She starts a fight. The brawl goes from backstage. Alexa Bliss is like, well, I tried to calm him down, and she makes her big announcement. She announces that she is entering the Royal Rumble, which is great news. It's good news, and it did pop up the score for this because it's been some time since we've seen Alexa Bliss in action. She was interrupted by none other than the newest call-up from NXT, Lacey Evans, the former lady of NXT, as I like to say. Whichever show's going on, the lady of Raw, the lady of SmackDown, she interrupts her and states that she's going to win the Royal Rumble, and they have a square. Could we see Alexa Bliss turning face to take on a new call-up of Lacey Evans? We'll have to wait and see, but it is quite interesting, and this is a good opportunity for Lacey Evans. Out of all the call-ups, this has been the most interesting one so far, because she actually feels like she's going straight in to a storyline against Alexa Bliss in somewhere. So with all that said and done, Lacey Evans' real debut on Raw, and Alexa Bliss announcing she's returning to in-ring action as well. I'm going to give this a 2.5 star. I was really pleased with it, and I actually enjoy some of the A Moment of Bliss segments. They've gotten better each time. Next up, we had Heavy Machinery making their debut on Raw versus the Ascension. Yes, we saw them a couple of weeks back on A Moment of Bliss, but this was their first in-ring action for Raw, and this was a squash match. This was a exhibition show, showcase match for Heavy Machinery. The Ascension really didn't do what they were just there to get absolutely demolished. And usually for these type of matches, I go, oh, you know what? I'll give it a 2.5 star because it's showcasing the superstar. Now, Heavy Machinery did nothing wrong. Now, there is a point here, because the commentating team were off a lot in this match, and I don't know what they were reading, I don't know what scripts they had been given or information, but Renee Young made mistakes, Michael Cole made mistakes, Corey Graves made mistakes in this, and it was all about information about Heavy Machinery. Renee Young went, the favourite things are ham and milk. And I'm like, no, it's steaks and weights. It says it on the back of their bloody jackets, Renee. Jesus Christ. Michael Cole's going, oh, that's the caterpillar. It wasn't the caterpillar, it was the jig. I don't understand where. And then he finally did come out and goes, oh no, that's the caterpillar. It's like, have you guys not read the notes at all? At all. But yes, it was a squash match, it was a showcase match, and it frustrated me that, as an NXT fan, that they didn't actually research this team who were coming up. So I'm giving it a 1.5 stars, only because commentating let them down. I feel sorry for them because it should have been a 2.5 stars, but Michael Cole messed up. Next up, we had a Raw Tag Team Championship match where we saw the Revival versus Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. We had a special guest referee, Curt Hawkins. Now, this all started at near the start of the show, where the Revival were talking to Vince McMahon saying, look, the referees made mistakes, which were true. They did make mistakes for both matches. And Vince goes, well, what do you want? And they went, we want a special guest referee. And Curt Hawkins trying to interrupt Mr. McMahon to try and get a match before the Royal Rumble to prove he can, enter the Royal Rumble. And Vince goes, you can be the special guest referee, and walks away. So we had Curt Hawkins as the special guest referee in this match. And now, again, this differs. I differ from other people who reviewed this episode of Raw. Now, some people went, oh, it was too heavily on story and it took away from the match. But for me, yes, it was the weakest one out of the 3 matches we've seen between these two teams. But for me, it was very, very interesting because I enjoyed it more because the Revival couldn't cheat to win. Like you expect it. I expected the Revival to finally get the titles at some point. I know there's rumours about them wanting to go and leave and go to AEW. I don't believe in that. I don't believe those rumours are true. I think that's just all speculation because, let's be honest, there's a lot of hype right now about All Elite Wrestling, and I haven't mentioned it in my reviews or anything yet because I just don't see the necessary time. Until something happens, then I will mention it. But no. This time round, the Revival tried to cheat. First time round, they're trying to hold down their opponent's legs. Curt Hawkins does a fantastic job, catches that. He also catches him with his legs up on the rope, catches that, and pulling on the tights as well. He captures everything the Revival try and do, as well as hold each other down. Chad Gable finally gets a quick pin, and Hawkins gives the 3 count. Yes, Chad Gable and Bobby Roode felt like a 3rd place in the storyline between the Revival and Curt Hawkins, which is a bit of a shame because they are the Raw Tag Team Champions and they were in this match, but they just felt like 3rd party into it. But it was interesting. You see Curt Hawkins actually do a really good job. He even tells Bobby Roode he isn't officially tagged in because he wasn't holding the rope, and that was interesting. He was keeping to the letter of the law throughout the whole bloody match, which was great. He shows off the Revival what they did and why he didn't give them the 3 counts each time. That finally lost it. The Revival turn on Curt Hawkins, beat the crap out of him, and who turns up? None other than the former tag team partner, his former edgehead, Zack Ryder. You know what? The crowd actually had a bit of a pop for Zack Ryder coming out, and I was kind of like, Zack Ryder's coming out. He's saving. Are we getting the Edgeheads back? I know they're not going to be called the Edgeheads anymore, which they should do. Zack Ryder, I know you don't like me much, bud, but think about it. Call yourself the Edgeheads again. Be fine. Everyone will love it. But yeah, he saves his former tag team partner. Does it look like we're going to have these two teaming up again? I hope we do. I kind of want to see it again. So I'm going to give this a 3. I'm going to give it a 3-star match because it was good storytelling throughout the whole match. Yes, the match itself wasn't as important as the storytelling, but sometimes you kind of need that. So yeah, 3-star match. Last but not least, our main event of the night, and that was a tag team match between Ronda Rousey and her partner Natalya taking on the hug and boss connection of Bayley and Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks being the #1 contender. And this was a really good match. Ronda Rousey had an interview before she went out there, and she was really frustrated with Sasha Banks, feeling like she had no reason to apologise to Sasha Banks at all. And Sasha Banks obviously disagrees. She honestly believes that Ronda Rousey has come into the business, she's been handed everything, and she looks down on everyone. And I thought that was, I agree. I am Team Banks on Sunday, I'm not gonna lie. I want to see Ronda Rousey finally lose, and I think Sasha Banks is one of those superstars who has been so overlooked. She could be the shock victory on Sunday. But they did enough on here to build up that big Sunday match, as well as not taken away from it, which was great. Both teams really come at it. Sasha Banks and Bayley are absolutely brilliant. What I found really funny was that Ronda Rousey was getting more and more frustrated when Sasha Banks and Bayley were actually doing tag team maneuvers on Natalya, and she was like, referee. I was like, it's a tag team match, Ronda. They do these type of techniques all the time in the men's division, in the women's division of tagging. You will see this type. And it was funny as hell to watch Ronda Rousey getting more and more frustrated the more she wasn't in the match. She finally tagged in, she took out Bayley, and her and Sasha Banks had a back. It looked like Sasha Banks put her in the bank sim and could have got Ronda to tap out. Natalya stopped that. Smart booking there, really smart, because now it's got that blood in the water kind of. Well, Sasha Banks puts the bank statement in, Ronda could tap out, you know. And that's the interesting bit. Natalya and Ronda looked like they were going to get the victory a few times before Natalya I think she kind of got into Ronda's way a little bit at the end. That allowed Bayley and Sasha Banks to take control. Ronda got taken out, and Sasha Banks puts Natalya in the bank statement. Really good match. Really, like I said, it didn't take anything away for Sunday, which is great. It adds more, you know, like, oh, this is a must-see match, and it shows that these two are going to steal the show if they're given enough time. And I hope this is a big victory for Sasha Banks. Interesting fact though, WWE never mentioned this. This is Ronda Rousey's first defeat in WWE. Her first defeat in some way. She lost it. It's her first time losing, and that's in a tag team match. That's good to see. But they didn't talk about it, and that's very, very interesting. She's undefeated as we speak right now in singles matches, but in tag teams now she is defeated. Both women started facing off against each other, and that's when the cameras cut, when both women were about to beat the crap out of each other. But yeah, really, really enjoyed this match. I thought it did everything it needed to do. It wasn't anything too particularly special as a tag team match, but it really just built up the match for Sunday between Sasha Banks and, you know, Ronda Rousey. So I'm going to give it a 2.5-star match, and I, you know, can't wait to see these two at it on Sunday. And there you go, guys. That was Raw for this week. We also got a Dean Ambrose backstage interview. He talked about Martin Luther King and Seth Rollins and Bobby Lashley as well. That's fine. Not really going to score it because it was just a quick backstage segment. But yes, interesting show this week. The Singh brothers Jinder Mahal match was terrible. The whole, you know, messing about with the whole Lucha house party, I just don't get at all. I just don't get. The moment of Bliss was really good because it was great to see that Alexa Bliss is coming back to in-ring action. Finn Balor was brilliant. Braun Strowman, brilliant. Brock Lesnar, never thought I'd say this, brilliant. Sasha Banks and Ronda Rousey, brilliant. But there was a lot of it in the match which wasn't, you know, during the show, which was just like, this feels like filler, this feels like a, you know, time-wasting kind of matches as well. So, with that said and done, I'm going to give this a 2.5-star match. It wasn't as good as last week. I think last week was the better show than this week. But definitely a good improvement. Good improvements from Raw. Can't wait to see what happens on Sunday. Interesting to see. So with all that said and done, what was your favourite parts, guys? What was your favourite part of Raw this week? Leave it in the comments below. If you do like our videos, please like, subscribe, and press the bell to keep notified. If you want to follow us on the old Twitter, it's at SmackTalkYouTube. And if you want to follow me on the old Twitter, it's at Boise88. And I'll see you guys next time on Smack Talk Wrestling Reviews.